Hi, I'm Elizabeth Winter, the Director of Communications for Women International, and I am here with Jeylan Mammadova, who has been an ambassador and a network leader for us. And we're going to talk about some of her grassroots efforts and how you can get involved and do similar things. The reason we are on a hotel room bed is that Women for Women International is here in New York City this week for the UN Commission on the Status of Women. And so, Jeylan, you live here in New York, but we're just up here for the conference and very happy to get to spend some time talking to you. Can you just sort of explain about how you got involved in Women for Women International?
Women for Women really spoke to me because it was more than just raising funds, but really just forming a network for women overseas and really drawing that connection. And one of the things that really spoke to me is actually having that sisterhood program and being sponsors for specific women abroad and seeing those results and being really results driven.
Yeah, that's one thing. You started an actual fundraising event, and it was sort of focused around photos and stories of individuals who were in our program. And as the person who's trying to share these stories on video and social media and through stories, written articles, things like that, I'm always trying to find the best way to help people feel as though they're right there with the women we serve. And I guess I'm curious, just did that have anything to do with why you chose photography to share the stories, or what were you thinking when you began your charity fundraiser?
So when I started the charity fundraiser, I started having just communications with people in the office. What would you do? Have you done similar types of events? It's difficult to steer people and say, go to the website and look it up. That's much more of a process, whereas just putting an image and putting a small caption of what it is and what's happening there speaks so much more. And also just in organizing the event, I wanted the local community, so different photo gallery groups to contribute. And they were so willing to do so just because I just showed them these images and said, this is from Syria, this is from Nigeria, this is what's happening in this image, and they just wanted to do it. And in fact, there was one time when I went just randomly into this small little photo shop in New York, and I showed him this image, and he's like, I'm from Syria. I will definitely do it. I'll do 10 of these pictures. And that's really one of the main reasons why I joined Women for Women, because there's a face behind a story, and you know exactly what you're doing, how it's affecting an individual.
Yeah, I think I was speaking to our country director, Buki, in Nigeria, and she was telling me that when women receive the letters that are written by their sponsors, and that's a part of our program, is you can sponsor a sister and then write her a letter, and she'll actually receive that letter translated into her native language and then can respond and write back. And that connection is so important. It makes them just feel elated, but that's kind of after that trust has been built. In the beginning, when women are presented with a program, sometimes there's hesitance, there's doubt that, you know, is this too good to be true? But then once they get into the program and start training and learning and building up a sisterhood of trust, and that's with their own classmates in these class sizes of 25 people, and also with these sponsors who write these letters and support them, trust is built. And then by the time the next enrollment happens, then there's hundreds and hundreds of women who, you know, have heard about the program and who show up. And I know that you did a message to my sister with us this year. It's our big campaign, just sending a message of support to the women that we serve. Can you talk about what you did, and did you rally some friends to participate?
So just going back to that image, it was so much easier this time to rally people to write. In fact, I didn't have to do anything to rally. I just said, Women for Women, let's send messages to these wonderful women. And everyone who came to the event, they just were like, how do we do this? So they picked up their pens, or they just went online and they started typing them. And literally, this was 20, 30 people in the office in one day who did it. And then outside, family and friends who came to the gallery and saw those images. It was just a whole different conversation. It just goes to say, back to your point of trust, they know where it's going, and so they're willing to do it, and the words, they just really come from the heart instead of just generic sentences. because they know it's real. And
that's the thing is motivating people to take the initiative themselves. And I've found it doesn't take much. Once you can establish this is a very genuine, sincere connection that you can have with people on the opposite side of the planet who have been through a lot and who appreciate that support so much. It's an incredible difference you can make in just sending a message of support. You also did some work with the United Nations. Can you just talk about that? Because we're here in New York City, like I mentioned, for the UN Commission on the Status of Women. And of course, I'm just curious about what you were doing with them and what was your experience with the United Nations?
Yeah, so my experience with the UN was with the Azeri mission here, foreign policy issues and writing foreign policy memos, the proper management of resources. This was something that I was focusing on, and that was actually why I wanted to go into this, because I saw that as an efficient way and a real way of influencing lives.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to get to talk with you and to meet you. I think you're a wonderful example of how everyone can get involved and everyone can build a connection with someone they may have never met before, but we share a lot of common bonds, especially women together can just share our stories and find commonalities and be stronger the more that we connect with one another. So thank you so much for taking the time, and can't wait to see what you do next. So thank you.
No, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of this beautiful organization.
Absolutely.